Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story where an entitled customer tries to chase down the wrong mechanic and ends up wrecking his truck in the process. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Idiot tries to follow me home because I wouldn't fix his truck for practically free. Idiot tries to follow me home because I wouldn't fix his truck for practically free, so I took the scenic route. Don't worry, I called a rescue. So this dude is very entitled and also a very racist MAGA-type dumbbutt. One of the reasons my boss will not absolutely have him as a customer during business hours, but will work on his truck after hours with no one else around. The usual MO is he tries to fix something on his truck and F's it up, then expects everyone else to fix it for really cheap because he already had done half the work himself. This time he fixed his brakes and somehow no longer had rear brakes. His truck is 2 bolt failures away from a junkyard. My boss is out of town, so I was in charge for the week with strict instructions not to help him while he's out. He showed up at the shop today demanding I fix his truck. I had already closed the building up and was ready to leave. I told him when boss gets back, he'll fix your truck. He didn't like that answer, then said something I picked up on to be a racist remark and told him to F off till G gets back. He gets pissed and grabs a piece of wood and throws it into the desert. I start my drive home, and a second or two later, I notice his truck behind me and matching my lane changes. I live 40 miles away, so I knew he wouldn't keep up with me in the hills, and I didn't want to kill him by outpacing him, so I called my friend, who's only about 9 or 10 miles in the middle of the desert, and told him I was going to swing by because I think I'm being followed, and I was going to take the scenic route. He told me he was going to meet me at the halfway, and if he had to, he would scare him off. The scenic route is 7 miles of rough desert road that'll destroy any truck without a long travel suspension. A lot of locals use it to test and tune their desert off-roaders. I get to the turnoff into the trail and see his headlights turn in behind me at that point. I shut my lights off and turn on my desert headlights and floor it. I made sure to lure him into the first set of jumps. Right before the jumps, I kicked up a bunch of dust and turned off all the lights and waited at the other end. I see his headlights again, and I could tell he cleared the first jump, but I could see his headlight shake going down, which is a sign of suspension failure from hitting the ground hard. I turned on all my lights so he could see where I was at as I left and proceeded to my friend's location. He was waiting for me with his brother and a big crap-eating grin. He told me he saw me about a mile away because of the lights, but couldn't see the other truck behind, and he just said, "Looks like he must have missed the first jump. I'm going to call rescue." We hung out another few minutes and took a different trail that led me to the highway home. Later in the evening, I get a call that he was fine, but his truck was literally bent at the cab and bed from the 5-foot drop he experienced. He said he got lost going home. I plan on calling G in the morning and letting him know I'm having that dumb butt trespass from the shop for that stunt. Update. G has been contacted, he's taking my side on this, and he's no longer welcomed at the shop. He's been formally trespassed by the sheriffs. I also saw the truck. It's literally bent with the bed and cab pressed into each other at another shop. They need to do more than trespass him. That sounds like the kind of crazy dude that comes back with a gun. And our second story. The person who wanted to drive in front of me. This just happened yesterday. I was driving home from my mom's house. The trip consists of about 22 miles on one highway and exits onto another highway, 25 additional miles. I'm driving down the first highway with cruise control set to 70, speed limit 65. I notice I'm closing in on someone in front of me, so I signal and pass on the left and return back to the lane, resuming cruise control. About 2 minutes pass, and the same person is passing me on the right and proceeds to get back in front of me. Whatever, I don't care, so long as this person can maintain a speed faster than 70. As you can probably guess, the idiot does not and drops speed, causing me to disrupt my cruise control a second time. Again, I signal, pass, and return to the lane I was in, making sure to put some distance between us this time. I drive until idiot is out of sight. 10 minutes of uninterrupted cruising passes until, to my astonishment, the same Chevy Equinox is passing me once again and proceeds to slot himself or herself right in front of me. Stifling some road rage, I get over to the rightmost lane and again put some distance between myself and this person, who will not be satisfied unless they're driving in front of me. After all, my exit's coming up, and soon I'll rid myself of this nuisance. 5 minutes later, and I've exited onto the second highway for the remainder of the trip. Not long after I've set myself up in the leftmost lane, I notice that Equinox idiot is right behind me. There's a decent amount of traffic, and I was keeping up with the person in front of me while maintaining a safe distance. Idiot's also a safe distance from me. At least dumb butt's behind me this time, I thought to myself. And like clockwork, I see the Equinox get over 2 lanes, pass a few people on the right, and proceed to get back over to the left lane. Of course, I don't want this a-hole to get back in front of me again, so I close the gap between myself and the car in front of me. That did not stop Equinox guy, girl, as they proceeded to cut me off for no apparent reason, causing me to brake pretty hard to avoid a collision and let them in. At that point, idiot has maneuvered through multiple lanes just to gain one position on the highway and then slow down to a lower speed than I was originally going. I'm done taking the high road with Equinox guy. If he wants to be in front of me so badly, I'll grant his wish. I turn on my high beams, it's 11 at night, and put only 1 car length of distance between us. I can see the light penetrating the windows and side mirrors, and I think to myself how annoying that must be. He or she slows down some more, and we're now going 50 and a 55. That doesn't bother me one bit as I bask in the glory of annoying the hell out of this idiot. I even passed up multiple opportunities to go around Equinox guy just to maintain the high beam assault. This goes on for 15 minutes, and Equinox guy has had enough and gets over to the far right lane. I follow closely behind and proceed to go as slow as he or she wants and switch into any lane necessary to keep up the blinding light. No matter how hard idiot tried, idiot could not get away. The suffering finally came to an end when the idiot finally took an exit. All said and done, I'd been following him for a solid 25 minutes while giving him exactly what he asked for. Was it petty and unsafe? Yes. Was it worth it? Yes. There's a difference between wanting to drive faster than someone and just wanting to be in front because really immature reasoning, I guess. I don't get it. Some people think driving's a game. And our next story. Who even pays attention to the music in a retail store? So I was on the floor doing my thing, putting everything back in its place when an older woman called me from a few aisles over. She looked scandalized. "Are you listening to this song?" she asked. Admittedly, the store playlist had become white noise to me even if I'd only been here a few weeks. I shook my head and told her, "No." "That man just said the F word," she exclaimed. I wasn't familiar with the song or the artist, but it seemed like just another sort of love song, certainly nothing that would have an uncensored F word. "I didn't hear it myself, but I'll be sure to tell my manager," I said. "I'm not even a prude or anything, I just don't like that word," the customer said. I smiled, a bit confused that she was bringing something like that up. I hadn't implied anything of the sort. We try to keep our playlist clean because we've got a lot of kids here, but maybe something got through. I don't even care about kids. It's just a bad word. I almost laughed. That's just such a peculiar way of phrasing it. She then asked for help finding a specific product that we didn't have in stock. I showed her some similar products as well as a multi-pack that contained the product she was looking for, but she wasn't satisfied. "I know on your website that you said you had however many items, and now I don't see any. Go look in the back," she said. I took this time to duck away and tell my manager about the music complaint. She laughed and said she'd never heard that before, and she'd been there for several years. When I got back to doing my rounds, I saw that same lady complaining to my manager about how they were hiding products from her. Not even the mythical back has everything, it seems. Just straight up say you checked and you don't have it. Some people never leave their house. And our last story. Neighbor decides to claim my land and set a drain on the property line. When my neighbor moved in 3 years ago, everything started off smoothly enough. He decided to put up a fence around his backyard, but when his installers began driving posts into my property, I had to step in. I'd had my property surveyed before putting up my own fence, so I knew exactly where the line was. My fence was set back 12 inches into my yard. The installers were shocked, and it was clear that my neighbor never bothered with a survey. We talked it out, and I agreed to let him use one side of my fence as a joint boundary, so long as he respected my property. For 3 years, that agreement held up. Then came his latest project. Suddenly, my neighbor decided to turn his backyard into an oasis, a massive patio, an in-ground pool, the works. Unfortunately, his pool dreams became my fence nightmare. His workers were using heavy machinery to clear the space when, bam, a backhoe took out one of my fence posts and 2 full sections of the fence. I was furious. Luckily, I had pictures of the damage, and his wife admitted they were at fault. She even agreed to replace the fence. But here's where things stalled. Months passed, and while the landscaping got finished, my fence was still standing on life support, propped up until the repairs could be made. The last straw came when I noticed a new drain near the property line, right where his new landscaping met my yard. It connected to his downspouts and irrigation system, and it was draining directly into my backyard. To top it off, his workers had landscaped a section of my yard without asking. I decided to talk it out with him. Big mistake. He met my concerns with, "Did you think I wasn't going to use your property?" and a few other choice words. That was it. I'd had enough. I contacted the county, who confirmed that he was violating setback regulations. Drains needed to be at least 5 feet from the property line. The town wasn't much help, still trying to figure out what their own codes were. But I wasn't waiting around. I also hired a landscaper and a fence installer, knowing my neighbor wasn't going to lift a finger to repair the fence he promised to fix. Now, here's where it gets interesting. My neighbor still needed to pull the final permit for his pool, and for that, he needed the fence in place. But the kicker, the fence was entirely on my property, set back a foot all around. So no fence, no pool permit. I considered taking it down completely, but I wasn't about to get sued by someone with deeper pockets than mine. Still, it was tempting. I decided to hit him where it hurt, his insurance. Since his workers damaged my fence, I asked for his homeowner's insurance information so I could file a claim. With that in motion, I'd get the repair started, but this time I wasn't giving an inch, literally. I planned to move my fence as close to the property line as legally possible, just a 1-inch setback, no more extra space for his convenience. As for his pool, well, it looked like his permit would be denied until he either put up his own fence or waited for me to fix mine. And if he tried to landscape on my side again, I'd be removing every last shrub, tree, and rock from my property. After all, it's my land, and I wasn't about to let him treat it like his own personal playground. Update. The claim with his insurance went through, and the repairs are underway. Once the new fence is up, right on the edge of the property line, I'll have my boundaries clear and enforceable. As for my neighbor, he can kiss his pool permit goodbye until he plays by the rules. Feels good to finally take control of the situation and know that my property is safe. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.